Hello, I'm Mandy Kaplan here with an important message. Throughout the modern era, millions, nay, billions of people have enjoyed countless hours of video games, stars, both Trek and Wars, comic books, and other nerdy endeavors. That's an infinite number of gasps and laughs as 20-sided dice are thrown, Pokemon are caught, and Doctor Who has done whatever the hell they do. Yet one person has missed out on all of this. One woman who doesn't know her droids from her hobbits has been left behind. Until now. That's right. I'm trading in my Taylor Swift and Housewives for superheroes and Wookiees as I finally embrace all things sci-fi and fantasy on my podcast, Make Me a Nerd, with Mandy Kaplan. Each week, a passionate guest will try to baptize me into the world of nerdery as they share one of these iconic entities that I have somehow missed. And you can help. For just $5 a month or $55 a year, you can become a member. For your generous donation, which is less than a new Tesla, you'll not only be supporting my mission, you'll get early access to episodes, bonus content, and more stuff I haven't thought of yet. So please, join me wherever you podcast as I finally learn what all the fuss has been about and see if going through this nerd-education will, in fact, make me a nerd. Or, as they say in Klingon, who am I kidding?
Before we dive in, here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts.
Ever wondered what happens when a Zoomer who grew up on the Clone Wars,
a millennial Anakin defender,
and a grumpy old Gen Xer walk into a cantina to talk Star Wars?
Then we've got the podcast for you.
Star Wars Generations is a place for fans of all backgrounds to come together, talk about why we love the franchise, and what we can learn from each other.
With so much new Star Wars content coming out, we take a deep dive into all of it. We talk stories and characters, what we learn about the Force and the Empire, Republics old and new, and how each story adds to the larger picture.
Besides episode-by-episode coverage of the new shows, we've been going back to watch the movies in release order. We talk about Star Wars novels and video games, along with fan content and cosplay.
And with each episode, we're just starting the conversation, and we hope you jump in. We'll read your feedback, answer your questions. We've even had full episodes dedicated to questions raised by listeners like you.
You can find us under Star Wars Generations on your favorite podcast app, or by going to theethicalpanda.com. May the Force be with you.
Now this is podcasting.
Meet Zinnia.
You are being very polite to someone who is attempting to kill us.
Her wife, Saffron.
You know I'm wildly, madly in love with you.
And their best friend, Goldie.
Glad we didn't miss all the fun.
Swords in hand, they defend their city from the worst of humanity.
I am Lord Buxton Blue.
Equity Electric.
Herr Haig. Virgil Walcott. Vicious Swab.
Follow their adventures on the Swashbuckling Ladies Debate Society audio drama podcast. Available now at truestory.fm/swashbuckling.
Hello and welcome everybody to Make Me a Nerd. I'm Mandy Kaplan, a mainstream mom whose mission it is to explore the world of nerd culture. One video game, podcast, comic book, nerdy TV show at a time. I am very excited to welcome back the ultimate gay nerd, as he likes to be known. He was here last time talking Deep Space Nine, and I'm finding it hard to find a nerd show he is not well-versed in. Please welcome back to the podcast, Manny Patel.
Yay! I'm glad to be back, my dear.
I so hoped you would come on with an American accent this time and freak everybody out.
Oh my God, no, I can't.
You can't do one at all?
No, I can't. I've lived lived in LA for 17 years now, and I still can't do one. It's just really, really, it's impossible. I can't.
Did you ever watch Frasier?
I love Frasier.
And Daphne has one episode where she can only do an American accent saying, sure.
Yeah, and she goes,
Sure.
sure. Wait, that was the one
Sure.
when they go to Canada, right? And
Yes,
she was
and
the
she's
green
afraid
card.
they're not
Yes,
gonna let her back
yes,
in.
yes.
Oh, God. Which now is actually a real fear. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
not talking about politics. Here we go. So I reached out because I heard through the nerd world that Doctor Who was coming back. And
Mm-hmm.
even though I had gotten the chance to do Doctor Who, I did not do the newest iteration. I did a Matt Smith and a David Tennant and somebody I didn't like. Eccleston, I think.
Well, Eccleston, Matt Smith, David Tennant, Peter Capaldi, and Jodie Whittaker were all part of the 2005 reboot of the show. And so this is now what I call a 3-boot. It's now a rebooted Doctor Who on Disney Plus with the 2005 original crew, which is Russell T Davies, Phil Collinson, Judy Gardner, all that whole lot,
Okay, same creators, writers.
Yeah, creators, writers, Murray Gold, the composer, they all came back. And so they did it with a ton of Disney money, and it came out in 2023 with the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. And so that's why it's the 3-boot of the original 1963 series.
Yes, and I have not heard the word 3-boot yet, so I'm giving you full credit.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah.
All right. And it is starring the very handsome
Ncuti Gatwa.
Oh, that is not how I was going to say that name. I was like,
Well, it's also got an N, a C, a U, and a T in it. So, for the dyslexics out there, they'll have a field day. So,
hello. Yeah, I have a little E next to my podcast, so we could say whatever we want. But I really, as I was watching it, I felt very self-conscious that I was going to mispronounce his name and sound like an idiot. So I came up with the idea of tricking you into saying it, and you fell for it. Ncuti Gatwa.
Ncuti Gatwa, yes.
Oh, okay.
And he's I don't want to say where he's from, but he actually did reside in Scotland for a while. So, but his background, I can't remember. I'm gonna get slaughtered for this now for not knowing his ethnical background. But his
ethnicity aside, he was on Sex Education, which was a huge,
he was great
hit. Yes,
absolute darling in that.
And so this episode that you first assigned me is a special, which started with David Tennant.
Yep.
And this was the one where they passed the torch to
Ncuti
Gatwa. And it's called The Giggle. And I just want to read the episode description for those who are listening and they want to be reminded. The giggle of a mysterious puppet is driving the human race insane. When the Doctor discovers the return of the terrifying toy maker, he faces a fight he can never win. I really question these descriptions, but that's what they said on Wikipedia or wherever I found it, fandom or something.
The reason why they buffed up the toy maker so much because he's actually a recurring villain from 1966.
Which I think is so cool.
Yeah, so I'll just give you a big backstory on it. So he was originally played by an actor called Michael Gogh that you will know from the Batman original movies, the first 4. He played Alfred. So,
cool.
Yes. And they came up with a toy maker to be a god because William Hartnell, the original Doctor Who actor, the very first one, he was not doing too well and they wanted to write him out the show and they needed to give him some time off. And so one of the episodes, they made him completely invisible, and
smart.
Yes. A bit like that Batman episode from 1966 when they had no money and they had to pretend all the villains were fighting Batman and everyone was invisible, that kind of stunt,
I don't remember that, but not something you could on a sitcom. You can hide a pregnancy with a bag of groceries. That's about as far as that can go. So
like you, or with a big poster, or or a plant.
Yep. But you can't just make people invisible on a sitcom.
No, you can't. No. But so the toy maker, who was known at that time as the Celestial Toy Maker, hence why he does all the sort of sort of racist kind of accents in this episode, because back in the day, calling him the Celestial Toy Maker was pretty kind of culturally inappropriate, because he would wear this Mandarin collar outfit, and that was that. I don't know what they're called. I looked it up because I don't want to get myself culturally inappropriate either. So
right.
So it's basically a very Far East outfit for back in the day with that little hat and everything.
Okay.
And it was written, and it was dressed by a white man, which was very inappropriate now. So that's why when you first see Neil Patrick Harris in this episode, he's got the German accent, and his accent goes all over the place, and that's what it's in a reference to.
I love him so madly and deeply. Let's just take a little Neil Patrick Harris road trip, if we can, a tangent.
Yeah.
He has been such an influence on my son's life from birth.
Yeah.
Do you know he writes children's books about magic?
Yep.
And he is a magician and hosted the Tonys, and Casey and I would watch him host the Tony. I mean, he's a jack of absolutely all trades. And Casey's, by the way, hasn't even seen Lemony Snicket. And I'm like, but it's Neil Patrick Harris. But it doesn't interest him. But man, this guy can do no wrong in my eyes. And
he did one thing wrong. Drag Me to Dinner.
What's that?
It's a TV show where drag queens have to, it was on Hulu for about one season, and drag queens have to host a dinner party. And that was the only thing that Neil Patrick Harris did that was not
well received.
as well received as everything else is well received. I mean, the guy was Doogie Howser. The guy was on How I Met Your Mother. The guy has done epic things, which we can go on for hours about. But this one show sadly didn't quite, hit the mark, unfortunately.
Well, I think what I'm seeing in this is almost like a kid getting to go to Disney for the first time. Neil Patrick Harris seems like he's living his dream being on Doctor Who, and he's a well-known nerd. And so he's not only having fun with the role, but you get that sense of like, look at me, Mom, no hands. Like he's really into it. And it's so much fun to watch him play evil and all over the place with his accent and
that sequence that we have. Should we talk about it now? Or should we wait for later on? The big sequence that he does in the episode with everybody, where he starts singing or miming. In this case,
I can't. I'm not there in my notes, so I don't know what you mean.
Sorry, I may have jumped the gun. Sorry.
No, that's quite all right.
No. When he does the Spice Girls, when he does that Spice Girls. Spice Up Your Life. Yeah. Well, he does Spice Up Your Life, and he just gets you could just tell he's enjoying himself, like to no end. Go on, sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say he's also, I don't know if you're a Phineas and Ferb guy. Have you ever seen that cartoon show?
No, I've heard of it, but no, I've not seen it.
It's really hilarious, and I've watched it with Casey his whole life. And the bad guy is named Dr. Doofenshmirtz. And he's always looking to take over the world, but he's always messing it all up. And Neil Patrick Harris is really ripping off Doofenshmirtz in this role. Just all of his ineptitude, but hubris. It's pure fun, very cartoony, and just tons and tons of fun. So I was initially quite confused by this episode because it says it's set today, but it was very futuristic in almost a Jetsons way. And I was wondering why that is.
Well, so are you referring to the whole where it takes place on Unit? Because right now, so it technically takes place in 2023.
Right.
But you've got to remember Doctor Who's timeline is different to ours because Unit was founded back in the 60s and 70s in Doctor Who. And so they had the Earth a lot more further advanced in the future, So that's why it does seem a little bit sort of out of place, but it's technically set in 2023.
I guess I've never seen Unit. I've only seen the 3 episodes, and they were more time travel-y and like back when Da Vinci was painting and Van Gogh, sorry.
or Van Gogh is how we say it,
Yes.
or how they said it in Doctor
Right.
Who as well. So basically, background unit was so in the second Doctor's episodes, he had 2 episodes where he would meet up with Unit and this guy called Brigadier Alistair Lethbridge Stewart, who plays the father of Kate Stewart, who's the head of Unit now. He was in a couple of episodes in the 60s, but then when Doctor Who had to be sort of reimagined for the 70s because the viewing figures were going down, they stranded him on Earth when he would work for Unit every episode, and so the whole Unit team was in every episode for a good 4 or 5 years.
Oh, okay.
And then they grew out of that again. He started traveling back in space and time. So that's why Unit is kind of predominantly featured in Doctor Who. And in fact, they're doing a Unit spin-off right now, which is The War Between the Land and Sea. Yes, which is coming out sometime, I think, either this year or next year. I mean, who knows? Because Doctor Who's up in the air right now with what's going on with it, because no one knows if Disney's picking it up yet. So we'll see. They're seeing how it's doing with this season, and then I think the announcement will be made at the end of this season of what's going on. But there's lots of speculation, which obviously is for another podcast. But this is just to celebrate. Yeah, this is to celebrate what we're seeing right now.
Right. So they do flash back to the original toy maker, and I was like, they show him from the 60s. Do they do that often? Do we see footage from old?
No, not really, because you remember a lot of footage from the 60s is, well, first of all, not many episodes survived, right? So quite a lot of them went missing, and as well as that, so what the BBC would do, they would broadcast the episode, and then to save on resources, they would tape over the episodes or burn the episodes because there's no storage space, etc. So,
are you kidding?
Yep. So a lot of the second Doctor episodes are missing. But other territories that, like Australia, for example, that broadcasts it, and places around the world, they still have those recordings. So they've managed to find them. There are still other things that are missing, but they're now starting to reanimate those missing episodes and restore them, because some of the fans still have the audio that they recorded back in the day.
Wow.
So they managed to piece together all kind. That's a whole nother story to dwell
I had
upon.
no idea.
Yeah.
That's probably the reason a bunch of people left England and came and started America, because they tape over Doctor Who episodes.
Exactly. Well, maybe 200 years later, but yeah.
No, I think I have the history correct, Manny.
I think you've gone back in time and altered it.
Doctor Who'd it. Well, he is with David Tennant is still the Doctor at this point in the episode, and he is with Donna, his
Catherine Tate,
redheaded assistant or right hand, right?
Well, so in back in the day, they were either called companions or assistants, but I think the best term they used was when Donna came back in season 4, and they called them partners in crime.
Okay, so this is just a random side note, because of course I see the Housewives and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And Pete, if you could put the picture up that I will send you of the housewife side by side with Donna. There's an original New York housewife named Jill Zarin, and they look exactly alike, or not exactly, but with the red bangs and the red hair and and I was like, this is bizarre. Donna doesn't seem like a TV star. She seems like a real housewife, just because she looked so much like this woman, Jill Zarin.
Yeah.
So Pete can put that picture up, and everybody can enjoy how I don't know what I'm talking about. But
you know, she was a comedian first, right? She was a stand-up comedian.
I know nothing.
No, not Donna. I'm talking about Catherine Tate. She had her own TV show called The Catherine Tate Show.
Oh, okay.
And she played a multitude of characters. And then when she got cast in Doctor Who for a special, the fans went, "Oh God, no! What are you doing?" But clever Russell T Davies. He knows exactly what he's doing when it comes to casting. So he got her in. Then she did one episode. Then they brought her back for season 4, and they became the best duo of all time.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
Yep.
She's fun and funny, but also a badass. And I liked her a lot. But this is the episode where they pass the torch. So we do end up meeting the new doctor.
Yep.
Ncuti Gatwa. And why is he not wearing pants? Is that ever made clear?
So remember when he so the term when they pass the torch on is called regeneration.
Okay.
This is a bi-generation where he splits in two. So David Tennant didn't get the shoes and the shirt. Ncuti got the shirt and the shoes and the socks, and David got the t-shirt, the waistcoat, the pants, and bare feet. And so that's why they're both wearing each other's costume.
That's adorable. I didn't get that. I was like, maybe they caught him while he was getting ready in the morning, and then they pulled him into this universe.
Or he looks like that guy from Ghosts, the one with no pants on, the one. Ghosts, the TV show. Yeah.
Oh, I don't watch it, but I know the show you're talking about.
Yeah.
They at one point one of their epic battles with the toy maker, which is so weird, is that they're throwing a ball at each other, which is what they did on Friends when they're like, whoever drops the ball loses, and it's like I'm like, they're playing the gut check ball game from Friends. It was a weird.
It wouldn't surprise me if Russell did that, because Russell does reference a lot of pop culture in Doctor Who. And so, for example, if you look at the unit tower, it looks just like the Avengers Tower. It's exactly the same. So
I wouldn't know, Manny. I don't know what the Avengers Tower.
Again, I said I'm the ultimate gay nerd.
You keep saying and I'm like, no, I don't.
No,
I know nothing. So wait, after they destroy the toy maker, I think a gold tooth falls out.
So the Doctor has an arch rival, arch nemesis, just like Sherlock Holmes has Dr. Moriarty. The Doctor has an enemy called the Master. And in the episode, the toy maker says, "Oh, I trapped the Master in my gold tooth." And so when he gets destroyed, the gold tooth falls out, and someone picks it up. We don't know who it is.
That's my question. We just see a hand. It's like cousin.
That's happened. Yep, that's happened before.
And do we find out episodes down the road who has the gold tooth?
No. We haven't found out yet. But in when the Master died earlier in the other series, his ring fell off, and so his ring was then picked up by somebody with red nails, just like this was picked up by somebody with red nails, and we don't know who it is. Real
seed planting that's exciting.
There are some really big seed planting in Doctor Who. I don't want to ruin the big seeds that have blossomed, but we there's the face of Bo from the original series that was no one knew who he was until you find out at the end of the third season. So there's things like that. But in this season, you've got the seed planted from the toy maker was the one who waits. So that gets revealed at the end of the series 1 of this new 3-boot.
Okay. I did find this episode confusing. It was jam-packed, and I know they were trying to drive to this regeneration. So my head was spinning with all of the information being thrown at me. I mean, I had never seen Unit. I had never met any of these characters. So I was a little, to be honest, I didn't follow much of it, but I had fun. Yeah. It was a very fun, bright episode with humor and lightness and emotion. It ends on a very heartwarming Hallmark moment with David Tennant, like finding maybe a family and contentment. And it's really... There was a lot to love about this episode. If you said, tell me the plot, I would be like, I don't know.
You got to remember, though, they were summing up what happened to the Doctor in the old series, because they were passing on the torch to the new Doctor and the new and the new streaming service. So everyone. So this was designed. So the first 3 episodes, and you watched the third one. The first 3 were designed for you to get into the world of Doctor Who and see what it's all about and see what's happened prior to this, so you wouldn't have to go back and watch the other 13 seasons, whatever it was that they had a back catalogue of.
Right.
So that's why that's why this episode had so much crammed into it. And you're like, oh, who's Martha, who's Billy, who's Amy Pond, who's Clara, and you're like, who are all these people? And he's doing a puppet show with them in like 2 minutes, and you're like going, what the fuck? I have no idea.
Yeah, but for true fans, they got it. I'm a newbie. And when the Doctors regenerate, do they always meet? Is that the thing that always happens?
So this is a plot device that Russell invented. So when he bi-regenerates or bi-generates, or whatever, I don't know exactly what the exact terminology is because some people say it differently. He's supposed to change from the old actor to the new one, right? But this time he's split into two. So what they're saying is that the toy maker makes a comment saying, I've jigsawed your existence right now, which means he's gone back and muddled up his entire timeline. And so what he's done now, so when the Doctor bi-generates this time, he's bi-regenerated throughout his entire timeline. So then Russell then wrote all those old Doctors that can come back in other episodes and other spin-offs, and that's why he did that as a plot device. Yeah.
And thrilling for the fans.
Yes.
Right?
So
who doesn't want to see one of their beloved Doctors come back?
Yeah.
I mean,
in fact, all the ones from the 70s and so the ones from the 80s and 90s have come back in some form or another, in a spin-off or a cameo. So that's how Russell got around that, because there was an anniversary coming up. Yeah.
Genius. Yeah. All right. So then the next episode I'm dying to get to, the episode 2 of this new first season of the new Doctor.
Well, this is not technically episode 1.
This is episode 1? Church and Ruby Road?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
The other ones were specials. So.
Oh, I see. The Giggle. Yeah. The Giggle was a special. This is episode 1. I, by the way, pressed play on a wrong one and watched a lot of it before I was like, what am I doing? But long ago on Christmas Eve, a baby was abandoned in the snow. Today, Ruby Sunday, that's the baby, meets the Doctor, goblins, stolen babies, and perhaps the secret of her birth. So first I wanted to say, and I fear offending Doctor Who fans, but I watched the opening credit sequence with the TARDIS spinning in the flames, and it looks so cheesy to me. Am I crazy? It looks dated.
A lot of people did find it dated, but there's a reason why apparently it's doing what it's doing in the title sequence. There's like the flames, and like when it's skidding and you see the things coming out. Apparently, there's a reason why for that. But yes, the one negative thing I'll say about Doctor Who for this season is that they could have updated the title sequence to be a bit more fun and I mean the logo is great because the logo is a throwback to the original Doctor Who logo,
right?
But I find that they could have got a little bit more with their opening, and especially with all that new Disney money behind them, they could have done something a bit more
to reflect the look of the show now or the effects that they have now, because it really looks like it's back to the 90s in that.
Yeah, but then also you got to remember though, but then on the flip side of that, you've got to remember Doctor Who always had this sort of cheap, sort of tacky charm about it that from the 60s and 70s and 80s, the wobbly sets, whatever. So, even though you've got millions of dollars behind you now, you still want to keep that sort of fun, campy, look, don't take it too seriously kind of vibe. You want it still to be like, okay, it's a little bit tacky, but I think that's what humanizes the show. I mean, that's what I find, I've got some notes to share with you on this episode where, you've got a goblin ship full of these monsters and they all look like CGI and whatever. But then you've got a couple of throwaway lines that humanizes them and makes them a little bit more tongue in cheek and campy and fun, which we'll go into in a minute. But but I kind of find that, I think they left it. They left it in that kind of like 90s time warp, because it does give that show that campy sort of silliness that a lot of TV shows don't really have these days. Everything's very polished nowadays. Everything's very, because of Game of Thrones, everything's now 10 million an episode or 12 million an episode, and everything has to be, aesthetically pleasing, and whereas now I think everyone's starting to have, they've had enough of it now. They want that sort of fun, quirky, not as polished kind of look as we used to have back in the 90s.
Sold. You convinced me. I mean,
Yeah.
if there's lovely logic behind it, great. If it's just, I think they got a little lazy and didn't update it, then that.
Yeah.
But I like your reasoning there. Okay, this episode is tonally, for me, the sweet spot of Doctor Who. There's a ton of humor, very quirky, but also some intensity and some dramatic undertones. But I also, it is very much paying homage to the Gremlins, the movie The Gremlins from the 80s. And who doesn't love that movie and hold it near and dear? So I was totally on board and grateful you selected this one, because you don't know me that well. You don't know, you're like, oh, Mandy, this will really sing for her. But it totally, I mean, there was a musical number, Manny. Well done.
Yep. Yes. Yep. And the reason why I chose the other one too, that we're going to hopefully discuss too, which is
The Devil's Chord.
Yeah. Again, with music in it. So, because I thought it's easier for you to get into it because you're a musical person. I know your background with miscasts and so on. So I thought, give us some musical numbers and she'll like it. Hence why Neil Patrick Harris was chosen for the first one. So
yes,
I know my audience
very well. Now, have they done an official Doctor Who musical episode the way so many of these shows have?
No. Star Trek did one, as you know, last year with.
I saw that one. Yeah.
They did that.
Pleasantly surprised by Rebecca Romaine's pipes. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised. But so what's up with that? How do I get them to do a musical episode?
I think they are. There have been talks about doing a full-on musical episode, but I think The Devil's Chord was probably leading up to that. But I mean, they should do a musical episode. It is about time.
And Millie Gibson. Millie Gibson's not on anymore, I read. But she's a musician.
Yeah, no, she is. She's. We'll go to that in a minute when we
get to the new stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I loved the lighter tone. Who doesn't love a Christmas story about a baby? I mean, it was just, it was beautiful. I questioned, and I thought Millie Gibson, who is Ruby Sunday, who is becoming the Doctor's new companion, I found her utterly charming.
Yeah.
My question is, why is she not scared? Like, I would be essing my peas if somebody put me on a ladder and I went up to a ship and there were goblins trying to eat a baby. I would be freaked out. And she's just like, cool.
Well, no, her focus is the new baby, So when you're looking after a child, you don't care about what happens to yourself. You kind of make sure that you're protecting them from danger. So the adrenaline.
I've been parenting pretty poorly then.
Well, I mean, I'm not. Well, I don't have children, hence why I can never feel any of these sort of outbursts of adrenaline. But I guess. She's just going, oh my God, my mother's going to kill me if she finds out I've lost the baby. So I think she's just more worried about what's going to happen to her if she doesn't get the baby back, Right. But there were some really good, really good moments in that scene. The Doctor says, "Love the glove." Reference to condoms, obviously.
Yep.
And obviously when she's on the ship, the goblins, she sees all the goblins and they're all singing, and the goblin says, I think the quote is, "He can eat me, he makes me swoon."
Okay, I don't remember that. About the Doctor? Or no?
No, about the Goblin King. About all the goblins are singing and they're going, "Oh, he can eat me, he makes me swoon." I'm like, okay, See, Doctor Who's full of those kind of like very cheeky, kind of like one-off kind of throwaway lines every now and again, which you kind of go, wait a second, did they just say that?
Yeah.
I think the best one they did was when referencing the Master again. One of the old Doctors comes back, thanks to this bi-regeneration things in a special they did, and he goes, "Oh, does the Master still have that silly beard?" And he goes, "Oh no, he has a wife now." And so So again, it's like you're going, oh, okay. So they do kind of catch you out with a few references here and there. But this was the episode. This one and the Devil's Call were the two that had a lot of these kind of like innuendo kind of throwbacks, whereas the rest of them did become a bit more serious afterwards.
Oh, okay. Shuti Gatwa has a very, very performative energy in this role. He is got a lot of swagger and style, and he's winking all the time, literally and figuratively. And I'm wondering what the fandom thinks of him. He has such a different energy.
Well, okay. So this is another minor setback for this series. He cries way too much. He every 5 minutes he's bursting out and crying. Whereas the first Doctor never did any of that shit. He was like, oh, fuck it, let's just go on and do this and do that, ha ha, you know, whatever. And then he mellowed as he gets older. But this time around, I mean, I don't mind it too much because I think I just love Doctor Who so much that it could really do no wrong in my eyes. But I kind of find with him that I kind of find with a lot of fans that they kind of see him as someone that whines a lot and he cries way too much. He's crying like every episode. In fact, you didn't see the new season opener yet, but he cries. He cries a bit in that, but luckily not as much as he has been doing throughout the whole of this first season.
It's funny. I was watching him just from an acting standpoint, and I liked his sincere moments very much.
Yeah,
and I found all of his swagger and shtick to be a bit much for me. He's not my favorite Doctor, but
no,
but in those sincere moments, I found him to be quite moving and effective. So maybe I want more crying, and I'm in the minority. Who knows? But he's a very different energy.
Yeah, he's different, and I think I don't know. I mean, as much as I know and have met the creative team behind this current Doctor Who, which we'll go into in a minute, because they did give me a little shout out in the first episode of the second season. That just aired last week. Yes, I sent it to you. I'm pretty sure that Disney went, you know what, if we're going to give you a ton of money, we want this. We want to appeal to a new generation, hence why there are more gods now as opposed to aliens, and that's why there are, I mean, again, I don't know what the thought process behind any of this. I could be completely wrong. I don't work on the show. I mean, I really wish I did work on the show because I just love it. But but again, it just looks like there was a lot of notes given for the collaboration. So, and Russell, if I'm wrong, let me know, but or let us know. But I kind of feel like there was. I mean, the show has gone a lot more woke than it has in the past.
Yes.
And to be honest, I mean, I don't mind it, obviously, but I know a lot of people have an issue with it. But then again, it's how many stories of after 60 years can you tell with a whole bunch of straight white people, or a whole bunch of certain cookie cutting people, you have to jazz it up a little bit.
Absolutely. So, what did you want? You said you had notes on this episode. I don't want to move past this episode until we get to your notes.
Oh no, the notes were just the innuendos and the musical numbers that we have in there. And also, did you notice that there was a character that kept breaking the fourth wall? That was called Mrs. Flood, the neighbor.
Yes, very much.
Okay.
Looking right at the camera.
Yeah, she looks at the camera, and at the end of the episode, she goes, "Oh, have you never seen the TARDIS before?" So that's a recurring theme. And also another recurring theme that we have is there was a heckler in the crowd when Ruby was performing in the pub. Do you remember?
Right.
The old lady. And then the same old lady is serving tea in the second episode in the Devil's Chord as a tea lady.
I did not pick
she
that
was
up.
She was in the episode before the Giggle as well, which you didn't see because I didn't tell you yet. But she plays Isaac Newton's housekeeper.
Okay.
And in fact,
is that just for super fans, or is that Russell's mom or something?
No,
like what?
No, that'll be revealed at the end of season 1 as well.
Okay.
But we don't know who Mrs. Flood is yet, the neighbor, because she comes back in season 2, and she does another fourth wall break to the camera at the end of season 1, where she's all dressed in a white outfit. She says, the doctor's about to get his ass handed to him but you'll see who I am very soon. So
Ooh.
yep. So I wanted to just drop those little things there for you to
Well, it's really
look
fun
at.
to have an anthology series because each episode is generally quite different with a new, situation that they have to solve. But to have those through lines and be planting those seeds is very cool for the long-term fans to have something to work
Well,
toward.
it's like in the I mean, how familiar are you with the 2005 series, the one with David Tennant okay, so I'm not going to spoil anything, but there was, like, for example, in the first season, Bad Wolf was mentioned every other episode. You're like, what's Bad Wolf? And you find out who Bad Wolf is. In season 2, you had Torchwood, which is an anagram of Doctor Who that was featured. Season 3 had Mr. Saxon, who you find out who Mr. Saxon is, which is an anagram. So really, really clever. And then season 4 of Russell's of original run, you had 3 or 4 different plot lines going all at once, and it all came together. So Russell knows his audience that he needs to have a sort of a through line with everything, as well as having an anagram of some sort in there. And in fact, there is an anagram.
I mean, that's gifts for your fans. Yeah.
So when they said, that robot that they had at UNIT, he's triad technology. Now, that was invented by S Triad. When you put S Triad, rearrange the letters, it spells TARDIS. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. So, again, there's lots of things going on. So
my brain does not go that fast. I was like, S.
That's why I love it.
Triad, and I couldn't get there. Give me a month or two, I would have done it.
Oh, no,
Okay, so then the last episode that you suggested was The Devil's Chord. And this
talk
one,
about pop culture.
Right. So
RuPaul's
this one
Drag
says,
Race.
the story sees the 15th Doctor, Ncuti Gatwa, and Ruby Sunday go to see the British rock band The Beatles in 1963, only to find that the world has lost interest in music as they are confronted by the mysterious Maestro, played by Jinx Monsoon. She was the winner of RuPaul's Drag Race, right?
She won season 5 of RuPaul's Drag Race. Then she came back and won the All Stars of all drag queens in All Stars 7. So she's considered like the ultimate.
And she's so much younger than I thought she was. She reads older. And
well, actually,
she's
I think
like
we have to
late
call them
30s.
them. I think we call her they. I think now.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's they now, because again, I don't want to be hounded by RuPaul's Drag Race fans and Doctor Who fans.
Right?
So,
no, they seem older than they are on when I Wikipedia'd. So
and you can remember though. So when we watched Jinx, we saw them in what 2000 and was it 2005? No, 2003.
I'm trying to avoid telling you that I've never seen RuPaul's Drag Race.
No.
Yeah.
So
my beloved writing partner is furious with me because he's obsessed with it. And it's just, one of those things that's like, nope, never seen it. I never got into it. So.
Well, it's not really sci-fi, but it is campy fun though. It's
people
fun.
Love it. It passed me by.
Sorry, I got my math wrong. It's actually though she was in the 2013 season of RuPaul's Drag Race. Yeah. So that was 12 years ago. So she was. So
they're American, right?
I still get my pronouns mixed up. Yeah, they are American. Yep. And they got flown out to the UK, and that episode was just campy and fun and just musical.
Was this written for Jinx Monsoon? Do you know?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I believe
are they? Can they sing? Are they a musical person?
Oh yeah. They were actually on Broadway, and they played. They were in Chicago. So yeah. So they've got a background in musical. In musical theater, and they love it.
Great.
And they were all about like being the first drag queen to be on Broadway and be in musical theater, etc., etc.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, the episode starts and they can travel back anywhere, and Ruby says, "I want to go see the Beatles recording their albums." And it immediately reminded me of a movie I love so much called Yesterday. Did you ever see Yesterday? The
Yes,
Danny
yep,
Boyle
all right.
film where the
Yep.
Beatles never existed.
Existed, and then the and the same surname as me, Patel, came
Yes.
up with the
Quote
the
unquote
song.
wrote all the songs. Oh,
Yeah, wrote all the
I love that
songs.
movie. So I was
Yeah.
immediately smitten with the way they were portraying the time and seeing these young Beatles in the recording studio, but they're recording garbage. It was almost like Smelly Cat, what they were recording.
Exactly. It was like Smelly Cat, and
Yeah.
and a bit of a tech background on that. So they never went to the studios. They actually recreated all that. So even the Abbey Road, even that scene where they're walking across the, as I say,
Across Abbey Road?
zebra crossing.
Yeah.
We that was all that wasn't shot there. That was all done with smoke and mirrors and so
Wow.
forth. Yeah,
It looked
yeah.
fantastic.
I only know that because I watched Doctor Who Unleashed, which is how they make that episode of Doctor Who. So when they show the episode, there's a podcast and there's a how you made the episode after it. So that's how much of a nerd I am that I have to go and watch all of that and find out how they did everything.
You win. Well, I was very moved when, so in this world, people don't have music. And then when Ruby Sunday starts to play the piano and sing, and everyone starts opening their windows because they're drawn to this magical sound. And it was very moving. And as a person for whom music is medicinal, music is very important to me. I really enjoyed that. And then they used my favorite piece of music, Claire de Lune, and they used it in The Last of Us, which I just watched for the podcast as well. It's like, I guess this piece of music just keeps popping up for me.
Following you around. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. There is a bit of trivia, by the way. So you know when they open up the windows and you see all the people, you see that elderly lady that that came out. Her name is Laura June Hudson, and she was the original Doctor Who costume designer from the 80s.
Oh, cool.
The 70s. Sorry, 78 to 81. So she was the old lady that they stuck in there. And the guy that and the other thing is the guy that came up with the chord for the Devil's Chord at the beginning, he is the son of the Doctor Who, of the Doctor Who composer of the theme tune from the Radiophonic Workshop. Yeah, called Roger Lim.
Oh, cool. Oh. This to me was a quite straightforward episode, what I imagine Doctor Who to be. Like, you establish a scenario, a problem they got to fix, a bad guy trying to stop them, and there's
not
Doctor Who.
Not as campy. This is the most campiest episode of Doctor Who I think that's ever been produced.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was. That's why I wanted you to see it, because I wanted to see how how it could be just a really fun camp old farce and
but
sort of just very lighthearted
too, which I think, there is heart and there is this longing, and Jinx Maestro is obviously has been deprived of joy, and
But Jinx's range really shows in this episode, and how they didn't get an Emmy nomination from it. I mean, it's just, they were just fantastic. It was like you saw how the madness and the evilness, and also the heart that the character has, and it just never, it's a shame that the Academy didn't recognize it. But yeah,
where do I send my letter?
I don't know. I've given up now. I think maybe she wasn't woke enough. I don't know, or they weren't woke enough. I don't know.
Well, I think all three of these episodes demonstrate such heart, and I think that's the key to Doctor Who. I'm sure everyone knows this, and I know I'm new to this, but I'm not sure sci-fi, time travel, fun shows always speak to me in an emotional way. And Doctor Who really does. I find myself caring and getting invested in the people they're trying to help. And they've that line they walk of emotionality versus just fun and entertainment and cool shit. I think they do it really well. I think that's why Doctor Who has endured all these iterations, all these years. It's really not that Russell Davies needs my support, but well done.
Oh, he's just wonderful. I mean, the show, it's survived 62 years, and the reason why it survives is it keeps evolving. Sometimes the changes are good, sometimes they're bad, but I'm a fan through and through.
And then you started the next season. It's hard to
Yes.
call the seasons. It's hard to know what to call them. This is 15 or 14 or.
So this is technically, I think, 15, but now it's called season 2 because of Disney.
Right.
So the episode after The Devil's Chord is Boom, where we meet a character called Mundy Flynn, who's played by I'm so dyslexic. I can't even say it now. Varada Sethu. I'm Indian. I can't say that. Varada Sethu, and she becomes the new companion, Belinda Chandra, for season 2. So so she's now that she. So you find out who Ruby Sunday is at the end of the first season, but she's not gone. She's still here. She's still around. She comes back.
I like her.
She makes a cameo in the Christmas special that we just had in December. She's not in this episode, but she's going to be in season 2. So Russell has a tendency to bring people back when you least expect them. So she's around. But Belinda, the new character, she is she's a nurse, and she gets kidnapped by some robots, and a doctor has to go and rescue her. And with the help of a hot rebel called Manny, which is named after someone else that we both know, ends up joining forces with the Doctor and ends up traveling with him in time and space. So that's the opener of season 2. And again, it's going to be another 8-episode arc, and you find out what the big twist is at the end. But this season, I'm a lot more intrigued because I think there were a lot of spoilers out for the first season of Doctor Who.
Oh.
Whereas this one, they kept their their cards very close to their chest.
Good.
So, yeah,
good. It's more fun. I don't know why people want spoilers.
Yeah,
shame on them.
Yeah. But I thoroughly enjoyed the season opener, as opposed to the season opener of the first season, which was Space Babies, which I didn't want you to watch it because it wasn't Doctor Who at its strongest.
Started it.
Yeah,
That's the one I watched by accident, and I was like, "What is happening?" And then I went back to your text, and I thought, "Oh, okay."
If you're not into Doctor Who, I would not recommend that to a newbie. I would just, or in your case, a whobie. We could. We can, I would wait until Doctor Who a bit more, a bit better, and then go back to that, because I just find that it's not the best foot forward for the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I watched, I think, about 11 minutes, and then I was like, I can't. What's happening? This doesn't. Oh, because you had said Jinx Monsoon in your text, and I was like, when is Jinx Monsoon coming? And then I realized I was watching the wrong episode because not very bright.
No. Well, I may have misled you. So I apologize.
No, it's all good. Yeah. So you have a lot of very fun projects that you are working on, and we're going to do, after we do our business and say our goodbyes to our non-members. For our members, I want to know how you edit these mashups. Can you briefly say what the mashups are to whet the appetites, and then we'll come back and dive a little deeper.
So basically, this used to happen at conventions where people would take a song and put their favorite clips of a TV show to the lyrics of the songs. And what they would normally do, they would get a scene that would last about 2 minutes and put a piece of music to them. And it would be one joke, and you're like, okay, that's it. Whereas what I do, I kind of like machine gun edit all the lyrics to scenes of TV shows. So it kind of tells the story of the TV show, and it goes in time with the music. So it's a bit of fun and campiness, but also sells the show. For example, you just saw the one I did for Mid-Century Modern, which is blowing up right now. And the cast and crew just all saw that. Matt Bomer actually reached out to me and said he really liked it. So
great.
It was great. Yeah. So a lot of people,
I don't know how you do it, but
we'll
you're
go
going to tell me.
Yes.
And where can people find these incredible videos and you?
Well, they can find them. They can find the full versions on YouTube. Just type in my name, Manny Patel. Or you could go on TikTok, where my username is still Manny About Town, like I am on here. And you can go on Manny About Town on TikTok or Instagram, and you can see where I've posted these videos. And on TikTok, you've got like the 1 minute versions where they're all my videos that I've just condensed into 1 minute, and you can look at it, and then they'll lead you to the YouTube page. But they're fun. I do them for no monetary gain, etc. Just for the fun of doing them.
Right, they're your creative outlet.
Yeah, they're my creative outlet, but they also lead to other projects, which we'll go into afterwards. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, I recommend everybody go do it. You are using all different genres, which is nice. It's not just Star Trek. It's mid-century modern and Ugly Betty and all of these fun shows. So everyone can find their jam and get into it, find their entry point.
And there's more coming. There's a Doctor Who one coming in about a couple of weeks. So.
Oh, great. And I was promised a Friends one.
There will be a Friends one, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that's where everybody can find Manny. And you can find me on Instagram at Mandy_Kaplan_Clavens, both with K's. You can find me on Blue Sky these days at Mandy Miscast. And I want to tell you all that Make Me a Nerd is a production of True Story FM, engineering by the peerless Pete Wright. The theme song is Wonderstruck by Jane and the Boy. And I have a favor, everybody. I need you, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, pause the podcast, hit that write a review, leave 5 stars, and tell me what you think. Please, please, please. It helps get more eyes and ears on the podcast. And if you're feeling extra supportive, you can go to makemeanerd.com/join and hit that button. $5 a month gets you your episodes ad-free and early, and bonus content like a little extra 5 minutes with Manny to hear about how he creates his masterpieces. That's it. Thank you all for listening. I'm totally lost as to what's coming, although I know somewhere down the road, I'm going to have Manny's friend, Bruce Valanche, on the show, talking about his book. This seemed like a really bad idea at the time, which is hilarious. And it's partly about how he wrote the much maligned Star Wars holiday special. So that should be a lot of fun. Thank you, everybody. If you're a member, stay tuned.